I'm Sara Kooperman. I'm the CEO of SCW Fitness Education and WATERinMOTION, and I can't even believe I remembered to say that because I always forget to say that. What we're going to be talking about tonight with these wonderful panelists is we're addressing the subtle prejudices and uncomfortable situations that can be adjusted through awareness and sensitivity. And by carefully selecting your language, you can avoid making clients and other professionals feel uncomfortable, unwelcome, etc. We're really going to try to look at what's going on with the LGBTQ community and trying to embrace change and diversity. And I'm very excited that we have Jeff Howard on. He's an international presenter. He's one of our SCW faculty members leading our group exercise certification and our aqua certifications. He's also on Bravo's popular Real HouseWives franchise in Salt Lake City. It's fabulous. I love it. And he owns his own gym. He actually opened his own facility during the pandemic. He might not be that intelligent, but thank God he's good looking. All right, and we love Jeffrey. Carrie Kepple, I've known for a million years, and we actually worked together at Les Mills, which was a lot of fun. She is the former chair of IRSA's board of directors, which is fantastic. She's co-owner of Styles Studio Fitness and has spent over a decade traveling the globe, presenting, training instructors, and leading other professionals. Erin Kelly is one of my favorite people because we were both CEOs of Les Mills. She was CEO of Les Mills Mid-Atlantic. I was CEO of Les Mills Midwest. And I'll never forget, I'm sorry, Erin, I didn't share this before. We're on this huge international conference call and I hear this rustling. So I start texting her on my phone. I'm like, where are you? She's trying on bathing suits. This is, thank goodness, before Zoom, okay? Love her, but she is the consummate professional. She's the VP of Global Accounts for Forte, which is a live streaming and on-demand platform. She's also been the CEO of Les Mills Mid-Atlantic, as well as working very high level with Brick Bodies, very well known in the industry. So not only are these people incredible professionals leading our industry, they openly share their lifestyles, pardon the pun, Carrie, but they openly share their lifestyles with us and really help to make change in the world. And that is incredible. And I'm just honored to be here. So Jeffrey, I'm going to let you lead this off. You get to lead this off. Go ahead. Tell your story.
Well, I just kind of wanted to start off with, it was interesting to me when Sara approached me about this whole idea. Sara's always been a very large advocate for the LGBTQ community, and she's always been very encompassing of everybody and never really has thought of any colors or any sexuality or anything. She had me and my partner at the time, Lawrence Biscottini, at her house when her boys were 3 or 4 and younger, and we had matching pajamas and we were making breakfast, and she just let the boys know that Jeff and Lawrence, they love each other just like me and your dad love each other. And she was very always open. But what surprised me about today in 2021 is the amount of teachers I reached out to that are presenters that are part of our community that didn't want to be outed. That didn't want to be outed in 2021. They thought it was going to affect their career if they came on this panel, which really, really surprised me. And I just think it's kind of sad on their part that they feel that the world is still like that. And that's kind of what I wanted to say about it. It surprised me. And to be honest with you, what I just said about Sara, it's true. We've gotten emails already about this topic today as well, that people were not going to be a part of SCW anymore because they feel that this was just not a topic that should be involved with SCW, where I feel it's something that it's part of all of our panel's lives, and we're all fighting the same cause. How do we make everybody feel comfortable and make them move and have them be fit and be respectful and ethical and all that other good stuff?
And we also started this conversation. We were on a about, I don't know, 25 minutes before you guys all got here. I do want to remind you all, if you move your mouse and you go to the bottom of your screen, you're going to see the green share button. And to the left of that is the chat box. So if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have things you want to share or ask, please feel free to use it. We love that. I love to see all these people, Jeff, where everybody's from, and we want you to share. I started with Carrie, and I asked Carrie, has she ever felt like she's been discriminated against, or how did she feel when she went and brought her son with her wife to preschool, and did it feel uncomfortable? Was it awkward? Were you welcomed?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I believe that, well, I have been welcomed, and I haven't felt any real discrimination. I mean, there's probably moments, but I think that we are so accepting of in my point of view, with me and my wife, Amy. Just as a bit of background for all of you, I spent 10 years in New Zealand opening and operating clubs for Les Mills gym chain there. And I met my wife, Amy, who is a New Zealander. And we have a soon-to-be 5-year-old son. And we moved back here 3 years ago. And we've opened our own facility here just before the pandemic, Jeffrey. So I'm not quite as crazy as you, but I'm pretty crazy. So anyway, and since then, moving back, I will say I was wondering, after being 10 years away, how the Midwest was going to respond to, us, but we've really been embraced with open arms. And I think a lot of it is around our own attitude and the way we give that off, that we are accepting, like, of all people, including first and foremost, we're accepting of ourselves. So therefore you're kind of relaxed anyway when you're around us. But our whole premise of like Styles, which is our club and our brand, is our company ethos, which is all styles welcome. And we truly mean that at the core of what we do. So it doesn't matter if it's about your sexuality or your age or your ethnicity or whatever, like, it's about encompassing this attitude of acceptance. And I think because we've done that in this community, therefore everywhere we go, people are like, they just see us as other people, so, and there's actually quite a decent little gay community here, to go figure. And so it's, we've really found kindness.
That's great. That's great. And I also brought up, I said, have you ever felt discriminated against? And Erin, I think you chimed in with Carrie and said, well, it wasn't because I was gay. So can you please elaborate?
I think both Carrie and I concurred that we've never felt kind of outward discrimination because of our sexuality, but more because we're women, more so than anything else. And, that's something that many of us have to deal with, especially as you get higher and more higher level executive positions. It's interesting. I sit across a lot of different round tables and things like that. And it's still very consistent that I'm the only woman at the table. And shockingly still, but our industry still has a way to go as far as that goes, especially as you get higher up in different higher level positions. It's still a very male dominated industry. And so I think we probably feel that more than anything else, I think, from a discrimination standpoint. So yeah, and the sexuality part it's interesting though, there's just the little things that kind of, I think, people don't realize that they say certain things that just are, it's more assumptive than anything else. And I think that's probably one of the bigger takeaways from this discussion, is that I think people in general need to just consider their language before they actually speak. It's almost like just an assumptive thing of like, if they see me with my children, it's like, oh, what does your husband do? And it's like, well, I don't have a husband, so it's those sorts of things, which is kind of like, we'll probably get into this a little bit more, but kind of changing more of the assumptions just by looking at someone versus knowing exactly what the story is. So
I work at the McGaw YMCA, which is in Evanston, Illinois, which is a wonderful city. Do you know that it's the first city in the entire United States that are giving oh God, what's that word? Reclamations, I want to say, to the Black community if they've been displaced. It's really quite interesting. I mean, they did that with the Jews after the Holocaust, but this is very unique for a community to do that. Anyway, very liberal, very progressive. And we always have to put, when we're on webinars, we put, you know, she, her, he, him, they, their, you know, you put the way you want to be spoken about. And, you know, it's an adjustment, but it's an awareness that's important to do. And Jeff, you know, you expressed that it has been unique and has been a challenge professionally being gay, and you've experienced some prejudice as a result of that.
You know, it's funny, talking with the panel, with everybody being associated with Les Mills, coming up in the industry as a presenter, I've been in the business, what, 20 years, 25 years. And when I started, you know, I was this blonde, tall, nice guy, but people wrote me off because of my sexuality as just being funny or kind and not smart, for instance. And I would look at I would look at Les Mills, and I knew that that wasn't going to happen for me because of their comfort level with my sexuality, let's say. And then I saw, as I was getting more and more in my business and career with presenting, that I was missing out on things with endorsements from companies that had maybe equipment, like a Power Systems or Spree or something else, because they felt more comfortable because of them being straight CEOs with a presenter that was maybe straight. And then I saw that happening around me, and I saw it happening with other presenters that maybe were not even, you know, just other presenters that were missing opportunities. And then I was telling the panel as well that I felt, you know, it's funny, sometimes because of being a gay male, people classify you as like one of the girls. And I don't know why that happens. And I don't personally like it at all. But I was telling the panel that I noticed that one day at work at Equinox, that every time that I would walk by somebody, they would touch my butt and they would pat me on the butt. And then I noticed here in Kentucky, the same thing. I counted in a day, somebody would pat my butt 12 to 15 times because they thought it was okay because of maybe wearing shorts or that comfort level of where they felt with me because I'm nice. And I knew it was wrong, because if it was anybody else on this panel that had that happen, they could go to HR and have something written up. But because of me being in my situation that I'm in, they didn't know what to do with me. I went and I said, this is not okay with me that people are treating me this way. Or I even had staff. I had people, I was teaching water fitness. I had the person in charge of the pool and lifeguards talking about my butt, and the members noticed it. And they were like, they're kind of harassing you. And there's something about that that is just, I don't know how it morphed into that. I'm hoping it will change back. But I felt, yeah, and I almost felt like my beautiful panel that probably happens to you guys in your career, and it's just not okay.
Well, you must have a beautiful butt first.
Yeah,
so good for you.
I'm not going to say anything.
But it is uncomfortable,
right?
Because if it's because you're a woman, or if it's because you're gay and you're not taken seriously, and I think Carrie, you brought this up. Carrie, you said, you know, you come up with this idea. And, you know, or Erin, maybe it was you, you come up with this brilliant idea and you say it, and it's like, haha, isn't that cute? And,
yeah.
And how do we get past that? How have you?
It's unconscious bias that's probably ingrained in us in a deeper way from the time we were raised for gender roles. I mean, like girls wear pink and boys wear blue. I mean, who made that up, and why do we still abide by that? But it's just, we can't even help it. I mean, and even us on this panel, like we're talking about being sensitive with pronouns and all sorts, but it's like it is very hard to unlearn, or you know, those unconscious bias when you do it. And I think that it's about having this awareness of what full acceptance and awareness of those unconscious bias, you know, looks like, so that you can do your best to be conscious and intentional when you're whether it's about women or anything to do with diversity, anything to do with minority groups, really, us talking about sexuality being one of those as a subset, Erin and I talking about being a woman as another, and saying like, similar to Erin being, one of the only women in the in the boardroom or wherever you're at, once you have an idea that's a little bit better or whatever, sometimes you can be felt to be made inferior because it's like, oh, okay.
And we've all experienced that. I always look at gender roles and how children are raised. Obviously, I have 4 kids. You've got a son, Carrie. You've got a boy and a girl, Erin. We don't know how many children Jeff has, but whatever, he's adopting mine. Too bad most of them are through college already. But we've got, we look at gender roles, and boys are raised, be strong, don't cry, fight through it. They play, they fight, they make up immediately. It's, girls just don't forget. And girls just say, don't get dirty, stay clean, speak when you're spoken to, be polite, and play to play. Like you play house. There is no ending. There is no winner. And that was something difficult for me personally to learn, that, you know what, if you're going to negotiate something, I used to feel so uncomfortable, like I was fighting with someone. No, it's just a negotiation. It's a back and forth. And that was a challenge for me to learn. Erin, you've been in a lot of roles of leadership and in some uncomfortable situations. How did you learn to overcome some of those difficulties of the way we were raised when we were young?
Yeah, I think it's just commanding almost your seat at the table and why you deserve that seat at the table. Unfortunately, sometimes that requires maybe some justification or explanation, but I think, once you find your space there, then it's also finding your voice and making sure that, you're speaking your opinions and giving your input consistently. And even though there may be times where you feel like it's not being listened to or people are open to it, but it's just not backing away from that, So, I think as women and just across diversity in general, is that we just have to continue to ask for our seat at the table and have our voice be heard. That's how we stay there. So
it was pretty interesting. Tatiana Kulavu, who's one of my favorite people, she said, you need to, separate your feet, put your hands on your hips and say what you mean. And I found that, I thought if I ever did that, I would have just offended too many. And so it's a subtle thing. Jeff, how are you able to command the respect that obviously you deserve? Did you?
Great question. I had to really learn fast how to be nice and fun, but yet also be direct. And I can change my tone completely, that they know it's business when I'm dealing with people that are a business, because I've managed pretty much every club that you can imagine. I was sent to Virgin Active in South Africa for 5 years, and I had to deal with a lot of those things. So I just had to really learn to be more abrupt and direct. And it's not in my nature, but it's the only way I was going to be taken serious. And I cut my own path. I realized I couldn't play in the roles they wanted to play, so I had to do it on my own. And so I made my own rules, and I made my own way, and I made it my way or no way. And I really worked hard at getting a following so that I was valued by people or valued by clubs and valued, and just kept doing it my way. But I definitely learned how to be more direct and more taken seriously with the tone I have to use and just my verbiage.
Yeah, and Carrie, you were nodding because obviously you feel the same way.
Well, I feel like, we talked a little bit about this at the start. It's harder for gay men, I do believe, a lot of the time, my right hand, me and my wife Amy, our right hand man here, who we love to pieces. His name is Fred, and he's a gay man, and he was a champion gymnast at the U of I. Like this guy is like business school major. I mean, he's a wonderful person, and I so I'm sensitive to the fact that I think in the wrong environments or environments that aren't so accepting, I think it's harder for a gay man sometimes, because I could probably walk into the room and, like Erin, we said, I'm more judged by the fact that I'm a woman. They probably don't know I'm gay or not. They're not going to, but usually we have this, again, this unconscious bias that we hear like the way a gay man might speak or carry himself, and we have an instant judgment, or people do. And it's like, that's not okay. Like somebody's personality can shine in their own way. And it does not necessarily mean you can sit here and say, oh, this is the way they are. Or because I think this way about gay men, I think, oh, he must be soft, or he must be this, or he must be that. And so I can see where Jeff's right. He would have to fight for his to take me seriously, and that's sad. But I'm hoping that, the more we talk about this kind of stuff, like you're doing, Sarah, and the more we put this stuff out there, the more it's just like, let's break down these silly barriers that don't really exist. They're just gender barriers in our head, or these ways we think we're supposed to be, and just be accepting of all the beautiful diversity that's out there, whether you're gay or straight or not. Like it's just, we have to keep doing the work.
And Erin, you were pretty shocked by how many laws that you found that were anti, LGBTQ.
Yeah, I was like, of course I want to be prepared, for my webinar appearance today. So I was like, I just wanted to see, kind of get an update on what was happening in that space. And one of the articles, which, we can send it around if we want to, but it was on the HRC website, and they, basically 2021 is almost the worst year as far as the number of laws that are trying to be pushed forward that are anti-LGBTQ, so it's like the worst since 2015, so we would think that now that it is 2021, that things would be much more improved. And, that's not the case. And I think particularly, for the transgender community, it's even becoming, that's where a lot of the challenges sit right now from some of the legislature that's trying to be passed. So I think from gay and lesbian perspectives, it's come leaps and bounds, in the last, 20 years or 15 years even. But, for our trans community, it's just a really, really tough situation. And so I think, we really have to be mindful of that and aware of that in our communities, and how can we support, them as much as we can, but also the awareness of all the things that we're talking about and how they affects that community too. So.
Jeff?
Well, I want to say about the trans community as well. I mean, we haven't, at my facility, I don't have any trans, but I know there's a lot of issue here in Kentucky with restrooms. What if they've only had post-op? What if they've only had like their chest done and not the lower part? Then where do they shower? Where do they go to the bathroom? Where, and there's so many people that have such strong issues about that. It's surprising to me. It's surprising because we've got to figure that out. We've got to make everybody feel comfortable, especially with the way the economy is and how the gyms are floundering. We've got to make everybody feel part of the table and part of the discussion and part welcomed where they're going to work out. And I don't know the solution to that. I don't know.
It's difficult because we are in transition. I saw in the airport today, I was flying back from San Diego, and in San Diego, I found California's a little bit more progressive than Chicago. And they had the men's bathroom, the women's bathroom, and usually it's designated as the family bathroom. And it was, I can't remember how they did it, but it was,
half male, half female.
Half male, half female. And I was like, yes, I was very impressed. So I think, Erin, because we've had so much progression going on with diversity and Black Lives Matter and everybody becoming more aware, that I think that's raised awareness to the so that the people who are opposed, or frankly, I think frightened by that situation, that maybe they've put forth more laws that are anti LGBTQ because some actions are being taken, like the bathroom sign. I'm going to try to see a silver lining here and say maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's the reason why. But I was very impressed by the bathroom, and I thought, also, we haven't been trained yet how to react. We have one of our nomad staff. We call them nomads, who travel with us to each mania. And we didn't know if this person, this person, I hope I don't make anyone feel uncomfortable, but they go by their initials. I'm not going to say what their initials are. And we didn't know if this person was a male or female. And the reason it didn't matter to us, but we were like, oh my gosh, we're inviting this person to come to the shows. We always room our staff with other people. It keeps our prices down for the conferences, because our conferences are only like $200, whereas other conventions are $400. We try to keep it affordable. Anyway, I thought, oh my gosh, legally, what the heck do I do? Am I allowed to ask his sexual preference? It's a man, and finally I just went, well, I either just don't invite this person or I open myself to a lawsuit. And so I opened myself up. I just said, do you identify with being male or female? Is there a preference for sharing a room? And that's the way we handled it. And it's like, I think, Jeffrey, it's like you said, you have to voice, you have to be strong, and you have to kind of shift the tone in your voice and say, you know what, please don't do that again if they're smacking you on the butt. And other people have to open their mouths and say, are you comfortable in this situation? How can I help? And that also, I think, is equally as important. Carrie, you've hired this individual. How can other clubs embrace and welcome the LGBTQ community more than ever? We were talking about, I guess it was diversity rides. I think, Jeff, you had one at the facility.
Yeah, we did too. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Carrie, please go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think firstly, it has to be genuine. I think what we experienced in June with this year's Pride Month, if you were really looking around, there was a lot of performative use of pride in businesses. Some for good measure, like to support other gay-owned businesses, and some just to sell their product and try to attract that crowd, right? And so you saw rainbow washing and what's interesting is, so I'm wearing my Styles rainbow pride hat right now, but for us, it comes from a very genuine place, right? So I guess that would be my message is, it's not about box ticking. And I have this same issue with the Black Lives Matter and whether you're trying to hire more gay people to attract that community or whatever, don't try to tick a box. Like, just be about equity, not equality. And they're two different things. Equity is like giving everybody the same opportunity to shine. Equality is just thinking that we all start at the same start line, because we don't. But like, equity would be opening your doors to saying, like, I genuinely want to be hiring based on somebody's ability to do this job with a complete unbiased of, their background, their sexuality, whatever that might be, and I think it really starts with an intentional, genuine heart about it and acceptance. And then I do believe that when it comes from the leadership, like when you're trying to create a sense of belonging in a club and you're trying to get people to feel included, you have to plant that inclusion in your operations, not only just the way your facility is set up, as you mentioned, Sarah, but also in the attitude of the culture in which the execution of your operations is delivered. Everything has to come from the language, from the attitude, from everything, and it's got to just be about acceptance.
Jeff, you were going to say something?
Well, I was like, it was interesting before we got on the call here in Kentucky. It was interesting. The CB, like the cycle studio, there was a cycle studio, and it's all owned by straight people, and they wanted to do a Pride Month, so they had drag queens come in, and they had, drag queens and doing rides, and it was fun and exciting and But it's interesting because, as the panel said, that's how they perceive gay people, that were drag queens and were these people. Where at my studio, I had a diversity weekend where it was about celebrating all diversities, whether it be a single mom or a single dad or anything in your life that is just different from, let's say, the norm, whatever that means. And it was even interesting for that because we had food and stuff here. And what the people would bring for the diversity was like a big cookie that was done in rainbow pride colors. And I'm like, I was bringing fruit in and stuff like that. It's a different mindset. I appreciate the effort, though. I'll be honest with you. I appreciate the effort. And like I said, I opened up a facility as you did, and my crowd knows my situation. They know my partner, Mark, and that we're a community and we're a family. And I really think it's what you even said, Sarah. When you had that nomad come, if they treated it like I'm this person and this is where I'm going, nobody said anything because they acted like this is me, this is my norm. And everybody in their crowd around them were the same way. Nobody said, oh my God, what is that, a boy or girl? Because everybody treated it like there was this iron thing around them that was like, we're not even gonna go there. We are not allowing this to happen. And I think that's almost the mentality of, like what you said when you brought your kids to school. Like you're like this, we don't think it's a big deal, so why should it be? I've never felt that. To have my partner though, who's 12 years older than me, crying at the Olympics because the diver from England said that he had they said that he had a husband and a child, and my partner never thought in his lifetime he would hear at the Olympics about something that he lives. He never thought that would happen in his lifetime. And so for me, we've come a long way, but we still got a long way to go. We still have a long way to go.
Yeah, and Erin, you're nodding, so I'm assuming you agree, and I'm assuming this has affected you as well.
Yeah, for sure. I just think from an organizational standpoint too, we're looking at, I agree with Carrie, and there was a lot of box checking. It's like, okay, we change our logo to a rainbow logo, check the box, we are an LGBTQ supporter. And that's not necessarily the case. It's like kind of looking under the hood to say, okay, from the top down in organization, what sort of representation and diversity really lies within that organization. And I think that's the true tale of what's happening, within, and then what needs to change. And also just from what sort of education is happening within that organization around diversity and inclusion, and educating team members about how they address, from a club perspective, how do you address members, how do you address staff, and things like that, which, again, I don't, at least in organizations that I've been involved with, there isn't a lot of that, there isn't a lot of that. So I think that's definitely something that can be improved across our industry for sure. And even from a marketing perspective, how are they supporting diversity, not only in how they market to prospective members, but how are they marketing to recruit their internal team members, and actually trying to attract more of a diverse, inclusive team. So I think there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, and especially in our organization, in our industry, where you kind of think of the fitness industry where it seems like it's very inclusive of the sense from an LGBTQ community perspective, especially when you're down at the instructor and trainer level. But once you start going up above that, that's where it gets, a little less. So
I have to agree with you guys, and I get the equity and equality, but there does, and of course, me being kind of the lawyer, I'm going to do a little devil's advocate here. We had to really work hard to find some Black presenters because they were not applying. So we had to encourage and dig deep and find some people and say, we are going to nurture you and help you get to where, so that you are that leader at that leader status. Because I think if you see somebody who's like you, like Mark saw the diver, Jeff's partner saw the diver, and you get chills. You're like,
that's equity,
they do
Sarah.
it, I can do it. So we're trying to help make those people. So sometimes the pandering, I'm going to put a rainbow on my ice cream store, like the ice cream store near us did this. And someone said, oh, they're just blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? They're also going to lose people because they put that rainbow up. And good for them for putting the rainbow up. Like, I think it's important. Carrie?
Stand for something or fall for everything, right? But no, so Sarah, you created equity by creating the open door to say, look, we are going to establish that I am going to start the process of creating this equity and this opportunity for anyone to come to apply. And I'm going to encourage you to do it because you should do it, and yes, it starts somewhere. So, but you open the door for people, and then you grow them. And Erin, I got to agree with you. Like, we see a lot more diversity at maybe the lower levels of this industry, but man, when you get to the higher levels, we're not only whitewashed, we are male washed. We are age washed. Like, it's crazy.
I was gonna say that, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, this is my soapbox, Sarah. This is the ultimate, is fitness is for humans. Do you have a heartbeat? Do you want to get healthier? We are for humans. And that is ultimately, our industry is one of the only industries that you can say, we actually exist for all humans. So why do we have one of the least diverse industries at that level that I know of? Like, that's our problem. And
I know why. Well, I know why. Because all these, oh my God, I'm like, we're recording this. It's going to be, I'm going to pay for this. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to pay. But it's these ex-jocks that go into the fitness industry that rise up, and they're used to playing on an all-male ball team and playing with the guys. And when you enter the door, if you're gay, if you're female, if
you're black,
black, it's just, you lose that, I hate to say it, but you lose that sense of team because they're not used to it. And we need to make them used to it. And you need to walk into a room where you feel uncomfortable. And Erin, I know you've done that because we walked into that room together. And you go into that room and, oh my goodness, and God forbid you open your mouth. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten yelled at in a boardroom. Right, Erin?
I've been there for those.
Oh yeah. I got yelled at once. Yelled. I was 48 years old with a graduate degree, typing on a BlackBerry because it was brand new and I'm into technology. And I was typing on my BlackBerry. Somebody screamed at me, get off your phone. It's like, I'm taking notes at this meeting. It was interesting. So Jeff, how do you, what are the steps that you've taken? You said you've kind of been able to navigate and go on your own. That's helped you. But I know you've had some influence in the industry and you have represented some products now.
Right. So, I mean, it's kind of like, I think definitely the world is changing. I think, thank God, it's changing quickly. And 20 years ago, it's a lot different than it is today. I think that it comes down to authenticity, like we just said. I think it comes down to being true to who you are. I think, as we've all said on this panel, just being you, and the sexuality part of it is so back there. I think, to be honest with you, being older, Sarah, has helped me greatly. Being 50 has helped me from being 20 or 30 in this industry, being more mature. And I think demanding it. I think that I handle myself differently than I used to. I tell people yes or no if I can do something. I don't say maybe anymore. If I can do it, I can do it. If I can't, I can't. I treat it more like a business. And I've always mentored people moving forward that we treat it like a business now. The fitness industry is a business. It's now more of a hobby. It's no more this. We want to be taken seriously. We have to treat it like a business. You need to know who's in charge of your clubs, the CEOs. You need to introduce yourself. You need to renegotiate your pay every 3 months if you can. You need to leave if you're not happy where you're at. Go somewhere else. I mean, we need to treat it like you would do any other job. And for some reason in this industry, we don't do that. And we need to change it. And I've been fortunate enough doing the Group X certification with you guys that everybody that I've mentored, I'm making them go forward with healthy body imageries, no more of this, we have to look a certain way, we embrace everybody, and that we treat it like a business because it's a great business and what we do is amazing and we've all created our destinies. And with that comes also the power of changing with what we want to change.
Yes, and Erin, you've done so much. I mean, with being the VP of VP of Global Accounts for Forte, and you've been a CEO, and you've done these. How did you do it?
How did you do it? You just do it. I mean, I guess it's, I think it just comes down to a person's own goals and aspirations. I don't think it has anything to do with male, female, sexual orientation, any of the things that we're talking about today, as far as achieving the things that you want to achieve in your life. I think that's a whole different topic, probably, around how we, what are the dreams and aspirations that we have in our lives and what we do to help ourselves get there. So, but I think, knowing that there are challenges, I think is certainly part of the reality. And that anyone that's aspiring to grow in their careers and have different opportunities, is that there will certainly be challenges along the way, and you have to be prepared for those. But you can't let those stop you either. So I think that's probably the number one thing, I guess.
Erin, my question is, I have a real quick. If you had had a husband that was the breadwinner, do you still feel you would have driven the same path that you're in? Which is a weird question to ask, I know, but I think it's because you're your breadwinner, you're your sole breadwinner that you were driven, or is that sidelined?
Well, I wasn't always, because I came out much later in my life, and it wasn't until I was 35 that I came out, and I was married to a husband who was the breadwinner and the doctor with kids. So, and that was probably the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life. But having to transition into that place of being, kind of the breadwinner, sole provider kind of, person in my own life, that kind of changed, maybe that definitely changed my trajectory in a lot of different ways. But it actually probably helped me more than anything else, just to be very focused on what the next steps needed to be in order to get to the next level. So yeah, that's a whole nother story, right? That's chapter 1 and 2 before we're in like chapter 3. So, but that being said, coming from a place, it not being as accepted as it is now. That's why I say we've made so much progress, because I look at my kids today, my son's gay, he's 22, and he's, always been out, was never an issue for him, so that makes me happy, to see how much progress we have made. And to your point, there's still a ways to go, but that's a really positive thing to think about where we are now. So
that's pretty amazing, guys. All right, we're getting close to the end. I'm going to take the screen here for a second. I'm going to show you what we've got coming up, our Midwest Mania convention. We're going live in person. We can talk to people and see people, and it's pretty darn amazing what we're doing. So this is very exciting for us. We got a short video to show you guys. Here you go. How wonderful. I can't wait. These wonderful people are going to be presenting for us at the upcoming conferences. We have Midwest in October, Dallas in November, and Boston in December. So I really want to thank Sean Senegan. He's been keeping us entertained with all his comments, and he is our wonderful creative director. We couldn't do anything without him, so he's hiding behind the logo there. I want to thank Carrie Kepple. I want to thank Erin Kelly. I want to thank Jeff Howard. The three of you are wonderful, and you're changing the world, and I appreciate it. So I thank all of you guys for coming. Thank you for always supporting SCW. And I hope you all have a good night.